Hey, what's going on, everybody? Cody Mitchner here with a Bible principle for y'all today. So, I was reading in 1 Timothy chapter 6 and thought of the principle of being generous. So, as Christ followers, we should use our material possessions to enjoy life and the things that God has given us. And we need to use what we have to do God's work around the world and to help other people out. So, in 1 Timothy 6, you got this guy named Paul. Maybe you heard of him, maybe you haven't. But he's an incredibly important person in the Bible. He was one of the biggest disciplers and sharers of the gospel. I could take a whole day to explain who Paul was, but just know that he's a really wise person. So, you also got this guy, Timothy, right? The book, 1 Timothy, it's based upon this guy, Timothy. He was a little bit younger, and Paul mentored him. Paul discipled Timothy. So, Paul strongly encouraged Timothy to warn Christian leaders to never allow, quote-unquote, the love of money, verse 10, to motivate them to gain riches through doing ministry. So basically, he was like, y'all shouldn't be using ministry, using the church in order to fill your own pockets with cash. So Paul did not condemn people who had wealth because being wealthy is not bad. God is cool with people being wealthy, but when they do it right. So Timothy was to instruct Christians in the land of Ephesus to store up a good reserve for the age to come. Verse 19. To do this, they were to do good works and be open-handed. Verse 18. I hope this is focused. All right. So in essence, this is what Jesus taught in the Sermon on the Mount. So that's in Matthew 6, 19 and 21, where it says in the NLT version, it says, "Don't store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven, where moths and rust cannot destroy, and thieves cannot break in and steal. Where your treasure is, there the desire of your heart will also be." Again, this is not saying that being wealthy is bad, but what is the point of hoarding money without helping people? What's the point of hoarding things, material possessions, without helping people? Money is just paper. It can be damaged, destroyed, lost, stolen. And when I read this story, I actually thought about famous Colombia cocaine drug lord Pablo Escobar. So in the early 1980s, early 90s, Pablo Escobar and this empire of drug traffickers made an incredibly obscene amount of money. Some people report that at their peak, they were bringing in $70 million per day. Since they did this illegally, it couldn't be put into banks or anything like that. And they had to get really creative of where they put their cash. Articles say that this fortune that had been accumulated was worth over $50 billion, and that all that money, that fortune, was actually buried around the jungles of the country of Colombia. So most of that money has never even been found to this day. And many billions of dollars had even been destroyed by the elements of the world and the earth. And even crazier, so much of it had actually been eaten by rats. So why do I bring up a historical drug lord when I'm talking about the Bible? Because it makes me think, what was the point of getting all that money? Of going through everything they had to do to get that money? And much of it even literally eaten by rats. What was the point of it? Money can come and go. It can be lost, stolen, damaged. These are the things that happen when we selfishly try to hold on to money. But when we invest, when we bless other people, and when we enjoy our money wisely, God is cool with that. So, if you're not rich, right? I'm certainly not. I don't have a ton of money. But the principle of being generous applies to anybody. The principle is not only for the rich. And a lot of times, I think God is observing how we handle what we have now before he decides to give us more. If we're messing up with a little bit, why would he give us more? That's the Bible principle for the day. So go out there and be generous.